I've been diligently editing the Greater Trumps this week, and I've been making really great progress. And I was getting ready to round the corner and wrap it up when I realized that the final section, for whatever reason, doesn't appear to be where I thought it would be. So I went looking for it in my files, and in doing so, I stumbled over a conversation. So when I found it, I was interested. Number one, I've been cleaning out everything, files, closets, you name it. I've been cleaning things out, but I wanted to know what it was before I deleted it, and I realized it was an interesting conversation that that absolutely got put on hold because of the circumstances that happened that very night, actually. So this conversation, this project was the furthest from my mind until just now. Apparently, it's my personal thoughts, and from December, and really, when I listened to it, it still felt the same. I always leave myself open to changing my mind. It's about God, it's about subliminal programming, universal law. So it's in keeping with the Greater Trumps and the Secret of Light, absolutely. So I thought I would go ahead and release that today, and then I'll probably be recording the rest of the Greater Trumps today and try to get that wrapped up. But I wanted to share this with you guys. I was a little perturbed that I'm going to have to reshoot my other section, but whatever, that's what I'm going to do. I guess I was meant to stumble on this project, and so I did. Let me know what your thoughts are on the subject, because that's all these are. These are my personal thoughts and the thoughts of the person I was talking with. It was a candid conversation. So I thank you for listening in. I hope you enjoy this. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing.
Hold on. So
Take care
basically,
till next time.
hold on, let me ask you a question. So basically what he would do is, within his subconscious mind, he would see people coveting his products, and to the point where they were running to, like, he would go through the entire scenario like it already had happened. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, you're being recorded.
Okay, the secret is that our subconscious mind is connected to the universal mind, which is all substance, which is God, or whatever somebody wants to call it, and that it is controlled through our solar plexus, which is our, quote, gut. So when people get a gut feeling that something is good or bad, they're right, but they've learned to go against it, and we have to learn to go with it. So what Steve Jobs learned through his Zazen experience, and Zazen means Zay is sit, and Zen is meditation. He would sit in meditation through his study of Buddhism, and he would just think, get anything, extraneous thoughts out of his mind, and think of one thing. And of course, that's what Napoleon Hill tells you to do, is decide what it is that you want and just focus on that. So all you have to do is focus on the one thing. Well, we're doing that all the time, all day long, and our subconscious is taking all that in. So if we're focusing on, oh my God, I'm worried I'm going to be running out of gas, pretty soon you're out of gas. And it's because your subconscious has already worked on it. And your gut feeling it with all of the emotion, because that's where your nervous system comes together. And that's where you get all these feelings from. And the feelings are, whether they're joyful, happiness, distraction, disaster, whatever it is, has to do with your solar plexus. So those two work together, and to the degree that you can control your entire body, and that's exactly what Steve Jobs learned to do. He would control his mind to work with his solar plexus, which then connects out, it merges with the higher mind, which is all of infinite intelligence, which means that it's creative substance. It's energy is thought, and it's creative. So to the degree that it's creative, it's constructive, it starts constructing immediately.
Yeah.
So the quicker you understand that oh my God, it's that little connection between my stomach and my subconscious mind. The minute you can consciously understand that, then what you do is you just merge in with the higher mind, and all of that just automatically happens for you. You stop worrying. You don't have to worry because you know that you're working with universal law. And that's what Steve Jobs knew. And that's why he could control what it was that people wanted to buy, because he had it's already within. The world within becomes the world without. So if the world without, if what's around you is devastation and destruction, then you have to know that that's what's within you.
All right, wait a minute. So how was he able to decide how people would buy things?
Because he already built the world within him. He already created that all these people would be, running to the stores and, the elegance of what he was developing.
Oh, okay.
And whatever, because that's what he loved. That was the world within.
Hold on. So basically hold on, let me ask you a question. So basically what he would do is within his subconscious mind, he would see people coveting his products, and to the point where they were running to, like, he would go through the entire scenario like it already had happened. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and he built a cult and didn't even, and did it within himself the same way that he lived on that apple farm, which was a cult. Okay, and all he did was reproduce what he had actually lived before. He lived on this apple farm. And the apple farm was where, life was perfect. All you had to do was all there for you. All you had to get up was the unfoldment of, seed crop and harvest. When the apples were ready, they picked the apples. When it was time to plant, they planted. When it was time for everyone to help do whatever. So he envisioned that as his company. And that's why they said he was in a reality distortion field.
So he took the lessons that he learned from nature, from the farm, and also from the things that he learned. Hold on, that he also learned from what he learned from the cult leader, I guess, huh?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting, huh?
That's very interesting, and that's how I finally came to the realization of, because I would always explain it as, okay, get a thought in your mind, because thought is energy, okay, and thought is a substance, okay, a thought becomes a thing. And
yes.
People have a hard time getting that into their head.
Well, and also, I think the other thing is, one way that we get tripped up is if we're constantly saying we want something. He took it to the level where he already had it, he already benefited from it, and he already had the money in the bank.
Yeah, but there was a higher purpose to it, and the higher purpose was the burning desire to create something that was going to help all of humanity, because he really believed that this was going to really help everyone. It was going to be for the betterment of everyone. If he believed he had created this world within, and all he needed were people to help him execute the world without, because you can't do it alone. You have to have a team.
Yeah. Well, you have to have people around you who are not going to undermine you.
Yeah. It's got to work in perfect harmony. And he did that because nature has to work in perfect harmony. Buds are ready to come out, and a storm comes along. What happens? It's going to ruin it. But if you know the storm's coming, what you do is you cover it with plastic or whatever the night before, and usually that little plant can weather the storm. So he just worked with universal law. But first of all, you have to know universal law. You have to learn it, and you have to understand the connection between the solar plexus and the subconscious, that the subconscious automatically goes to work. And whether it's a lie or the truth, it doesn't know the difference between a lie or the truth. Because have you ever heard people saying, oh, she's believing her own lies, or, he's in his own world? Well, they are in their own world.
I think something.
It's got to be constructive.
The one thing that I think is, and this, I have come to the realization about the stomach as well. One thing that I know I've told you is that, we're told to pray before you eat, but that's not how it works. And the reason, and it proves your point, in that give your stomach what it needs and what it wants, and then afterwards your mind is cleared. You can think clearly. Then that is when you meditate.
Yeah, interesting.
That is when you meditate, because your body is satisfied.
That's an interesting point. And the thing is, to the degree that you get nervous and you tense up, the blood does not flow, so you can't think straight either. So if you haven't properly fed yourself, that's why the nutrients, all this stuff, and by the way, the other thing that we have to talk about at another time is I have this thing about making soups. Well, I started researching, the bones and whatever, and the reason why natural food, okay, and getting the bone marrow and whatever is so good is all of the nutrients come from those bones, and that goes into your body and merges with yours. So this whole merging, this whole idea of all is one, okay, and one is all, applies to our body as it relates to the universe at large. So our health, everything ties into this, and it has to be incorporated in all of your life. But the thing is, you got to start one place. You can't, and when someone says, well, that's too overwhelming, that's why they don't even start. Well, start with one thing. And if the one thing is, relaxing your mind so that you can clear out the clutter, so that you can think about what it is that you must think about. And if you focus just on that one thing, then you don't have to really fret about what you're going to say. By the time you get to that chord, it's already in your subconscious. Your subconscious has already worked on it. Okay, your gut tells you that everything's going to be fine. And you relax, you walk in there, and it appears like magic, but it's not magic. It's natural law in action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But doesn't that, I've never been able to explain it. This is the first, and it sounds like you understand it and that you're fascinated.
Well, I've been living it, Mom. That's how I know. And with the other part that I know, let me talk.
Any one part of it. Yes, you're right. That's what's happened.
Mom, let me talk. The more for one thing, there hasn't been a book out there which obviously, to me, the truth is always simple. And I've been practicing these types of things that you're talking about. And what I found was, and if something didn't quite work just right, then I would just keep tweaking it. But I never gave up. And I started with meditating. Okay, and at first it felt like nothing was happening, but I just kept doing it because it said, it takes some time. And then before you know it, then you realize, something is going on. And then I put the point, now I know when I'm getting ready to do a project, I should eat a little something first. Because when I do, I can communicate more clearly with my subconscious, which helps me to put my project together easier. Yeah, because I'm already satisfied and I'm on point. I can pay attention, and I've also realized
in Scientology they make those kids eat. Did you know that they feed them like 6 times a day?
Yeah, it's important. Yeah, it keeps your body in a level place, level and aligned. And also, I know when you first start trying, let's say, and I don't know if this is always the case, or if it's just the time period that we're in. I'm not sure about this part. But because I feel that we are coming out of, actually we've already done it, we're into the next section of a 72-year period. And I think part of it is there's been a clearing of saying, okay, these are the things that I've been putting up with in my life, but they have not helped me. Here they are one more time so I can see them and say, I don't want that anymore, for the rebirth that we are currently in. And so, maybe that's why, because what happened to me is the more I became aware of ways that I was hindering myself, first of all, it was negative self-talk, and so I stopped doing that, and that takes a long time. And then when I tried to bring it into my reality, I was very self-conscious about it, because I thought people would think I was crazy, or that I was, just talking baloney and not listen to me. And you get resistance. And that's the part I'm not sure about, if that was just because of the time that we're in. But as I was undoing the negative things...
Us back together.
Hold on, Mom.
What brought you and I back together was that you knew I understood this stuff.
Yeah, well, and I was trying to understand you, and I was trying to understand our relationship and try to repair it. So, doing that book with you, was the 2 books that we did, was very helpful to me. Number 1, it taught me a lot about editing. Number 2, it taught me that depending on who is editing, you can really change the story to any way you like.
Oh, yeah.
Puppet master.
That's big, Kim.
It's huge. I know that.
That's huge. And that's why Steve Jobs had to be in control. Like, they called him a control freak. Well, it was because he knew that if someone else, distorted his reality, that it wasn't going to come out the same way. So he was so confident about what he knew that he was willing to fail, and you must be willing to fail.
Well, and what happens too, Mom, is...
And Henry Ford said the same thing.
Well, I don't... the jury's out. For me, I'm not going to talk about Henry Ford, but and I'm just going to say that the more that you believe in yourself and the more that you practice these types of techniques, the more confidence you do get in yourself, because you become a truth meter, okay? So in the way that I learned it and I taught myself is, first I started the meditating. Then I caught some video on YouTube about this guy using a pendulum. So I thought, oh, that's cool, I'll try that. So I did, and one day I realized that my body was moving at the same time that the pendulum was moving. I'm like, like, I didn't really ever think about how the pendulum worked. It didn't occur to me that my body was doing it. And there was an energy field. It creates an energy field, and the pendulum only gives you a visual of what's happening, but it's invisible. And so that day that I put those 2 things together, I put the pendulum away, and then I started asking myself simple things, like when I would go to the grocery store, do I want the red one or the blue one? And I would stop and I would listen, and my body would physically move, Mom. It still does. Now, I'm aware of it. I don't think it's...
But that's your gut. See, the thing is, your gut caused the action. See, there's the cause. See, the thing is, once you get the world within, that's cause. Then the effect is what happens. So
Yeah.
the effects around you are not the effects you want, then you know that you're not doing the right cause, which is you. And that's what puts you in this state of, oh my God, I really am controlling this. So you're individualized God.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a
I know.
pompous way. I mean it as we are all individualized pieces of this whole. So the only way that we can really understand our power is to merge with all power, which is the connection between our subconscious mind and our mind, which is connected to the higher mind and this solar plexus. And like you said, this pendulum, so that's why this pendulum thing, once you understood that, your body did it because you didn't need that. That was symbolic.
Yeah.
So you realized the symbolism in the world. And like I have this pillow that says relax, and I had to buy it, and I really didn't have the money at the time to buy it. It was I've had it over a year, but I mean it was like stupid. I shouldn't have bought it. But now in retrospect, I realize it wasn't stupid. It was my way of saying I need to relax. And when I would see the pillow, I didn't even realize that I was seeing the words relax because they're all colorful. You'll see it. Oh, did you see that in one of the pictures?
All I saw was a flower. But Mom, basically, what happens too, Mom, is when you're trying to undo. I know, and I've told you before, I could talk for over an hour or longer about subliminal programming because the powers that be understand what you and I are talking about, and they use it to control us. I believe that advertising and Hollywood and politics and religion at the top level, at the highest level, they are run by the same people, and it's a concerted effort to control us, to take our power and usurp it.
And we'll talk about, at another time, we'll talk about Coca-Cola, because I'm fascinated with the Coca-Cola company, as you know. But the thing is, during the war, Woodruff decided that he was sending the Coke over to the war, but he didn't do it for free. He charged 5 cents. And that's when it costs a lot of money here to buy it. And they became so loyal to that brand. And plus, he looked like a hero giving it to him for 5 cents. So he made the statement that it doesn't matter how much our costs go up. For our servicemen, we will always, do it for a nickel. And guess what? Those servicemen came back and they were loyal to that brand.
Same with cigarettes, Mom.
Same thing. That's not the cigarette thing. But
well, Mom, there's ways to what I have noticed, and I won't get into it in detail. But with subliminal programming, there's an initial hit where they get your attention, and then whatever comes right behind that, you're very receptive to. And then that loop just keeps going and going and going, and that happens all quickly in advertising. I think it's happening all at the same. If you have one piece of print, it's built into it, like all the steps that I'm talking about. But they repeat that on Facebook. They repeat it in television shows and news. I mean, it's a concerted effort.
Talking about message markers.
Talking about who?
Message markers.
Yes, but say I don't remember what you said.
Markers. Let me see if I can give you a good example. Okay, a message marker would be like because you do it all the time. You go, I want you to listen carefully. Okay, that's the message marker.
Yeah.
And you've alerted someone that there's something coming, but there are more subtle ways of doing it. But those are called message markers.
Yes.
And they're almost like cliffhangers when a television show says something like, and when we come back, we have what, and then they don't tell you, what the next thing is, but we'll be talking about, how the world's going to change in 2016. And what they're saying is, don't turn this channel.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying, what I have noticed, Mom.
Do what you want.
Okay, well, what I've noticed, Mom, that is most effective is that when I'm watching television programming, they use sexual content, and it's not overt. It's subliminal, because I've heard people talk about this, and I don't remember who it was, but they said that our mind, our minds are very, very capable, more so than we've ever been led to believe. And that whatever's on the surface, I mean, we see that automatically, but we're processing what's behind the surface as well. And actually, whatever is right in front of us, we don't even pay that much attention to. We pay more attention to subliminal, like body language, or colors, or things that are going on in the background. So that is how, hold on, Mom.
That's why when something really important happens to you, you can remember where you were, you remember all of the details of that, that. You remember the eeriness or the joyfulness of that experience, and you can remember even the smells. You can remember the subtle things, and you don't even know it at the moment that it's going on.
Yeah.
And when it comes back to you, especially if it's, and in most cases, it's affecting someone in a negative way, when that comes back to them, it comes back with all of those senses,
Yeah.
and that's what affects people in such a negative way when they feel so sad about something. It's because all that comes rushing right back to them.
Well, but basically, what the point was, and maybe it was Edgar Casey. I think that it was where he had put some people under hypnosis, and then when they were under hypnosis, how much more information they could remember than they had initially thought that they could. And it's a tremendous amount of information. So that knowledge, Mom. Let me speak. That knowledge of how much we can take in is used in all television programming, and it is also used in radio programming, but it's just in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And you just did something which I would call a message marker, and they do it on television all the time because television has 4 or 5 people now all in like a little huddle trying to get information out to people because there's 4 or 5 of them and there's only so much time to get the information out before they have to go to a commercial break or they have to go on to the next subject. And the message marker that you said, which was very polite, it was the polite way of saying shut up, let me speak.
Okay.
They're doing that on television all the time where they just butt in. Okay, instead of butt in and filibuster, they'll say, let me speak. Let me make my point. Or that's a message marker.
Yeah.
And that's what alerts people. In other words, it's alerting everyone else that that's what they're supposed to be doing. And if the other person is being rude, okay, and continues to talk, then that person gets tougher. And they go, I think I'm speaking. I think it was my turn, or you know what I mean? So again, those are message markers.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, what I have done is I have shut down a lot of the television. You know, I watch it and I occasionally, but very, very little. And the more that I meditate and the more that I practice being in tune with my subconscious through the, asking myself, is this what I want or that or whatever, playing little games over things that don't matter, like, what to have for lunch, then the stronger I've gotten. And then when I really need it, or if I'm doing a project and I want to go through this project and have it really be my message, the highest message, using all those tools subconsciously with my conscience helps bring it together much easier.
Yeah, because you've developed the habit on Fox, and it's the Koch brothers, Koch, not like Coca-Cola, and they're really, really rich, and so anyway, they were talking about what their father taught them, and the father said to them, if you don't come in and make a mistake and learn from that mistake, then you will never go on to be successful, because they realize that you can't be afraid to make mistakes. And most people go through life because they're taught as little kids, oh, you spilled that or whatever. So they go through life afraid to spill something.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And you must make mistakes. And you must be willing. That's what Steve Jobs was doing. That's why when they threw him out and he started next, he really didn't care. He was devastated to the core that he would be abandoned again, because it all ties to our pathology as well. But he knew that they were going to take him back because he created that in his own world. He said, well, I'm going to build something where they're going to have to buy my company back. And do you know that his wife now is the 7th largest stockholder of Disney, which means that she made a ton of money through the Star Wars thing? He already knew all this stuff. He laid this out a long time ago. That guy just fascinates the hell out of me.
Mom, I think I think the Star Wars thing, I haven't spent any time on it because I've been really focused on what I'm doing, but I am fascinated with Hollywood, and I believe, I've always thought that the government is behind all the editing and really all pulling all the strings. It's put out like yes, they are corporations, but it is totally controlled from the government, I believe.
Well, and that's why you have to encourage people to, in their own little world, whatever world they want to create for themselves, control their own world. And Steve Jobs knew that. He knew that if he did not control the world within his own world, that whatever was the effect of that was going to be at the peril of his life and his family. He knew that.
You're right. And what is interesting to me is when you first breaking out and you're trying to embrace what you're talking about, you will encounter a lot of resistance. And that is why you must practice every day, gaining more and more self-confidence, because it takes a lot of it to go against the tide until you can bring it into reality.
Yeah, and I'm fascinated. See, I talk a lot of this with Bart, and I gave him my Bible. Well, it's not really a Bible, but it's the Think and Grow Rich that looks like a Bible.
Yeah.
And it had all my writings in it, and I didn't want to give it to him. I was going to buy it. And I said to myself, yeah, but I don't have the money to go buy it. I'm going to give it to him because, he'll give it back to me if I want it, I guess. And so he cherished that the most. And he says, I can't wait to start reading it because I want to read these notes of yours. And I said, I was worried about that because I thought they were going to distract you. And he says, no, I'm more interested in your notes than I am what's in there.
So he probably was the catalyst for you calling me.
I know, because he's got confidence in me. He always has.
No, I'm talking about
Weird.
you were trying to pull all this together, Mom.
Yeah, I was trying to explain this because it was so clear in my own head, but I could never articulate it, and I realized it wasn't clear in my head. Well, it wasn't clear because once something becomes clear in your head, you can explain it. What wasn't clear was how it happened, and I got that clarity through Steve Jobs.
I know how it happens too. I got off track. Let me speak some more. Okay, so you meditate and you start practicing and you start seeing results almost really immediately, because I do believe that the universe wants to work with us. I mean, it's all flowing and it wants to flow. And so to get your attention, you'll get some initial successes. But then what happens is I think our fear blocks it, and we have to work through it. Okay, so then what happens is it's like, okay, well, how does all this click into place? And it clicks into place in a lot of different ways, Mom. Like on Facebook, every time you click like, you're saying, I want that. I'm like that. Okay, that's one way. Another way is when you go to the store and you expend money, which is energy. Okay, it's something that you worked hard for and you have to part with. And you're saying, yes, I want to spend my money enough that I want to buy this. Okay, and whatever you buy, when I go to the store now, I look and see, I don't try to manipulate it. All I have been doing is observing, okay? And the more I observe, the more that I see. And I have seen that I keep doing things to where they're like doorways. They equal, in numerology, they equal doorways, like the number 11. The number 11 or the number... there's patterns. And so when we go out...
Jobs talked about that, opening doors.
Okay.
The doorway is just another level that you've reached, because we live in two worlds. We're physical beings, but we're also mental beings. And so people don't realize that we're living between these two things. So the doorways happen when we can get our physical, which is the gut, with the mental, and then connect it to the infinite intelligence. And once you experience the effects of that, then that experience helps you do more. And that's what you're talking about.
Okay, let me finish. So basically what I'm saying is that, to take your thought to another level, I'm saying that when I go out, like there's sometime this past week, I ran to Kroger, I don't even know how many times. Apparently, I was trying to put some things in place in the universe. And each time I would go, I would notice that, the numbers just seemed to there was a synchronicity with the numbers. And so I'm saying that whether we believe it or not, and whether we acknowledge it or not, we are making choices every day that affect our future. So when you go to the store and you're grumpy or whatever, and you go and you buy the groceries for the family and you're all pissed off, whatever you purchased for that, you spent more than your money. You gave it's a part of your soul was going down a different level. You're going down a path. And that's one way that we put things in place in this universe, is exchanging our money for other things.
Yeah.
Expenditure of energy. And then the other thing, Mom, I've noticed, then the other thing I notice, like right now, we're in Mercury retrograde. To me, before I would think, oh boy, that's when, weird things happen, and, timing's always kind of funny. But what I have come to realize is during Mercury retrograde, we're very honest with ourselves, and our subconscious comes through in the form of funny little errors, synchronistic errors that show us, oh, this is really what you meant when you said that. You thought you were going to say this, but this is what came out. That's the truth. So I notice that during whenever I make a post or a comment on Facebook, I'll listen to the things that I say, because you know what else I know? Whatever I'm saying to other people, I'm really saying to myself.
We have to, that in order for us to sell anyone, we must sell ourselves first. And the only way you do that is if you've created your inner world where you truly are living your own world. And this is kind of an interesting conversation, because I'm sure this helps you understand me more. That I'm someone that has always been willing to do this, and when my inner world was so distorted, but I couldn't. It was what I wanted to do, but I couldn't articulate that to other people. Then, to the degree that you can't do that, you're never going to get the effects that you need to get, because you need to be in harmony with other people. You cannot do this alone.
No, and you know what else I realize, Mom, if it goes back to what you said, we live in two worlds. And the part that I knew about you, and me too, is okay, I'll say you first and then I'll say mine. But for you, you are so much in the outer realm that it's easy for you to stay there and not bring things into reality. For me, I was so much in reality that I couldn't allow myself to dream. And that was the piece that I needed, because I'm all about bringing it into reality. But I need to know how it works, and I need to know that it works, and that it's simple, and then it's done. It's done.
Yeah. And see, that's why I could have an empty wall, because whatever it was that I wanted on that wall was already there. Just like when that one painting that you love,
yeah,
blue nude. When I saw that painting, okay, I had that empty wall forever. I knew, and I had no business buying that, but I had to have it. And the guy wouldn't budge on the price. And I finally gave him what he wanted, because I had to have that. And then, since I didn't have enough money to frame it properly, I had already had a frame that, what else was in that? Something else was in that. And I just had it cut down. So even though her head's cut off a little bit at the top, you notice?
Yeah.
And her shoulders cut off, because it didn't matter. And nobody knows it. The only one that knows that is me. Because if you looked at that, it looks like it's perfectly finished the way it was supposed to be finished.
Well, and Mom, what I'm saying to you is, The reason people haven't figured this out, because it is very simple. It's a simple concept.
It's so simple.
But that's the reason there is so much confusion and things are made more complicated than they have to be because
Well, it can't be that simple.
because they're hiding it. They're hiding the truth in plain sight. The other thing that is really important is astrology. And because astrology is made to, it was put in the realm of quacks. Well, that's baloney. Because I've been following it very closely to try to understand it, for one thing, and to see if it's worth me understanding. And what I see is that it is embedded in everything that we see on television. There is, for every day and for every minute, Mom, even less than that, there's a book out there. It's called Sabian Symbols. I don't know if that's the name of the book, but that's what the concept is. There are symbols for every point of the zodiac wheel. And it's a picture. And that picture is played out in the news, it's played out in the movies, and it is reinforced. And so the reason I think that we've been able to be led astray so easily, those pictures are taken, and because something feels familiar to us, it's easy to slip in something that's not in our best interest and fool our gut.
The only way the gut is fooled is if you don't have a strong inner world. Because when you have a strong inner world, you realize that your body, everything's working together.
I understand that, but I'm saying, why did it take me 50 years to figure it out? Because I've been distracted, because I was busy. Let me say something, Mom.
28.
Mom, we have been distracted. Our society has been distracted to the point where we have given up freely our power.
Well, here's the other thing. People think, and this is something that you and I talk about, that, I can't be that smart. So if I'm not that smart and there's something you're interested in, if there's some guru like Tony Robbins or whatever that's doing that, you're willing sometimes to give up your money to get someone like that that's going to try to steer you in the right direction. But that steering is based on their own inner world and how they perceive it connecting with universal substance, and they don't want to tell you all the secret because they want you to feel that they have the secret. That's what the other thing is that you sometimes, and of course if I didn't have I guess Bart was the youngest, but 3 kids at the time, I would have gone off with the Moonies or Scientologists because, I knew that they understood these universal laws of intelligence, but I also knew that they would have controlled me. I wouldn't have had, access to my own kids.
That's why Bruce Lee was so dangerous in our society when he was here, Mom, because the key is, another way that our power has been taken away from us or diffused down to the point where it's, useless, is because we've been compartmentalized to the point where we just we're so busy, doing our one little job and with our one little family that we don't look up. And when you start to look into other areas of study that you generally would not, you realize it's all connected. And when you look over there, like if you look at the Buddhists, or if you look at different religions, and then you start to realize, they tell you everything but this, and then this one tells you everything but that, and then if you what I'm saying is
Like Coca-Cola.
hold on, Mom. Let me finish. If you can see past, coming out of your box and looking at different areas of study, and you take note of the little things that you can pick out and you put it all together, then you have the whole puzzle.
Yeah. But most people don't. They're so busy with, quote, life,
I know.
that they don't want to take the time to put that together. So they'll read a book and they'll get some information, they'll have some insight, they'll have some success, and that's good enough for them. But anyone that has had any amount of success can have as much success that they want, but they have to want it. They have to have that burning desire. Steve Jobs had this burning desire to change the world. He had this burning desire to change the world. And I suspect that he created so many things that, I don't know if I told you that his sister, Mona Simpson, remember I told you about his sister, Mona Simpson?
You told me a little bit about it. I thought his daughter, I don't know if, oh yes, you mentioned her, yes.
His real sister was, and you know, he was given away, but she was, that they didn't give her away. But it was because the mother and father separated, even though the same father fathered this girl. And so by then, the mother was deciding that, you know, she didn't want him anymore, and she was keeping her daughter. So she kept her daughter. She probably would have done it with Steve, but at the time she was so in love with this guy. And so Mona is his natural sister, and he wanted to figure out his family, but he didn't want his stepfamily or his adopted family to feel bad, because he felt like they were his real family, because they were the ones that raised him, and he believed that right from the start. So even though he was an orphan, he understood that, you know, a mother or a father is not the person that necessarily that raises you. Sometimes an aunt or an uncle or whomever it is that raises you is the person that, just that's why Mary's so connected to me. I'm kind of like a mother to her. So anyway, he hires when he gets enough money, he hires a detective to find her. And to find out about his family. He finds out he has a sister, and he connects to her. And the two of them instantly just, you know, had this bond. And it was because they were so much alike. And so they became lifelong friends. And she realized, you know, what he was all about and what genius he had. And then at the very end, when he was dying, she was there, and Lisa was there, and the wife and the kids. And at the very end, he looked up over their shoulders after he said goodbye to everyone. And he points and he goes, "Oh wow, oh wow, oh wow." Like he saw what was beyond. But before then, the couple of weeks in the hospital, or in his room, as he's laying there, he's writing down all these other inventions that were coming to his mind and writing them all down. And all of those are like for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
I think when we're on the threshold of moving from different realms, that is a window of when genius is right there at our fingertips.
Yeah. And the thing is, he knew it. Most of us don't know it. We're kind of in fear of what the fear of the unknown. And that's why so many people don't succeed. They want to know. They want to know that they're on firm footing before they step over the precipice. But he already knew. He had experienced through LSD. He had already had his eyes open to the future. And so he already knew that the future was now, and there's no then and now, and that it's all one. And so all he had to do was create his inner world, and then confidently, boldly walk in the direction of his dreams, which is what Goethe said.
What was the quote? Does he have a quote?
Yeah, the quote is "Walk confident." It wasn't Steve Jobs. It was "Walk confidently in the direction of your dreams."
Yeah. That's what I've been doing.
The word is boldly. Walk boldly in the direction of your dreams.
Okay.
And it's because boldness, there's power in boldness. because you walk boldly because you know something, right?
Yeah.
And people that really, truly, like they've made up their mind, even if it screws up later, they don't care. They're willing to fail because they really believe at that moment. And it's got to be at that moment, and that's why you can't hesitate. At that moment that you believe, you have to just reach for it. And that's why some people succeed and some people don't.
I also think that the things that let me say this too. I think the things that we're meant to do in our life are always with us, trying to get our attention. And when you finally realize it, it's like, do you know how long that has been haunting me? And it's probably been forever.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's the one thing, okay, that you must overcome. That will open the doors to the secret, and that is understanding that you can have whatever it is that you want, but people really don't believe that. So you have to believe it. And the only way you can believe it is experiencing the small things. So that's why you are so receptive to it now, because you've been practicing it. And that's why doctors get better and better as they go along, because it's all practice. I mean, if all you do is, take out livers, you got to get pretty good at taking out those livers after a while. It's pretty mechanical, isn't it?
Well, I think that
An operation worrying about whether they can do it. They already know. They go in there with their eyes closed.
I think anything we want to do, when we make up our mind, we do it.
Yeah, but it's because, and the thing is, we create our future because we make our own opportunities, and that's a key word, make. In other words, an opportunity is something that exists. It always did, and it always will. But once you see it as an opportunity, the way it's made is that it went from the physical realm, okay, which was in your mind, okay, to the gut, the solar plexus, it connected, and then that connected to all of infinite intelligence. And everything that you needed, you know, is there because that's divine providence. That's what we're promised, that everything that we need, that we can control, we can be kingdom of the earth. In other words, we know that we'll never be kingdom in the mental realm because the mental realm is something that we can't control. It just is. They're natural laws.
I think that's why breathing is so important. But because it's funny that you're bringing this up, because I have always, my belief was the third eye is what helps us manifest, but I don't believe that's what it is.
Mm-mm. But the third eye is when your mind is opened and you can see it.
I think we have a third eye, but I don't think it's in our head, Mom. Mom, I don't think it's in our head is what I'm saying.
Oh, it may not be, but the thing is, I'm sure you remember, because we all have done it, when you have to get the courage to do something, and what do? You take a deep breath first.
Yeah.
You take a deep breath, and then you calm. It's a calming thing, and then you do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And eating.
And he was big on that. See, that's what the Zazen is. It's controlling your breathing. You get into the state, and then you get into this meditative state that is just like nothingness. And if something comes into your mind, you focus on getting it out of your mind. So you focus on nothingness. And when you focus on nothingness, you get everything. It's the first time I've been able to explain any of this.
We're in an important window. That's why. I think this is the beginning of a new 72-year period, and it is a rebirth. And so at this juncture, there's so much information that's available to us. Yes, I know. Yes, and it. But what I'm saying is, all of the genius of the universe is readily at our fingertips right now.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, when people say, "Well, I don't believe in astrology and whatever," you can't really try to convince them. You're better off not even addressing the issue. Find conversations that will come in harmony with those people. So there's always something that you can compliment someone on, or that you can get in a conversation on, but don't try to convince them something that they don't already believe, because they'll come to believe it if they talk to you enough and they like what you say. Then the door will open to talk about other things.
Well, Mom, what I've been doing is I know the truth, because like what you're talking about with Steve Jobs, I just know in my gut that I'm right about a lot of things. And even though I may not have all the pieces of the puzzle, I've learned that I don't care, because when you allow things to come to you when they're supposed to come, they don't always come in the right order. And I may not pick them up.
What you think is the right form. In other words, the form, see, the thing is, our minds create a mold. And that's through this thought process, which is energy, and it's dynamic. And if something's dynamic, it's always moving. So thought is always moving. And to the degree that it connects to your solar plexus, and it's agreeable to you, in other words, you get a joyful feeling and you go, "I like that," whatever. Well, that's all you have to do. And then your mind, your subconscious mind, works on making it work, because it connects to the higher mind. So if you connect to that thought that becomes dynamic, you know that the universal substance is constructive. That means that it will automatically construct whatever it is that you've already decided in your mind you'd like to have, and your gut tells you that would be good for you. So when something's not constructing, it's because there's something not going on right between your gut and your subconscious.
Or sometimes it's a matter of, yes, you're right on task, but it's not the right time. And like yesterday, I had this video, the one that my latest video of Dale and I being silly in the kitchen, and it was done, basically done. And then I tried to save it, and it was, there was something in there. A clip was, there was a problem with one of the clips, and so none of it would save. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not supposed to do this right now, because I knew, we were getting ready to have supper and then get into our nighttime routine, so I knew it just wasn't going to happen. Well, today I realized I was supposed to finish it today, because there's something really powerful today. Okay, we're in the 12th month, which is a month of change. 3 is change. It was more important that I finish it today. And is the party over? What's that noise in the background? Anyway, I've enjoyed this conversation, but I think I gotta go. I gotta do some cooking before Dale gets home.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But this has been fun. I'm glad. I'm glad that you made your recordings. Yeah, you explained something that I've realized in the back of my head, but that I need to put into practice, and that is, and I do it sometimes, but only when I'm really desperate. Like when I know, okay, things are not going the way I want them to, I'll get my journal out and I'll write in my journal exactly how I want my day to have gone, but I'll do that in the morning. And then as my day unfolds, that is how my day ended up. But it's because I really, I was like...
That's what Steve Jobs talked about. He wanted to make a dent in the universe, because if you make a dent in the universe, then the substance flows into this mold that you create, almost like an ice cube mold. Okay, so whatever shape it is in your inner world is what's going to come out in the outer world.
Yeah. Well, I did that. I mean, I know, Mom, I know that there is, I can feel it in the energy that either we're about to break through something. I don't know what's going to happen, but I also know that I've spent this entire year just very focused on expanding my knowledge of universal law and improving my world in every way, shape, and form that I'm physically able to. And that we're down here to the wire, and there's been such a wet blanket over this holiday season. And yesterday morning I just thought, I'm just not going to go there. And so before I did anything else, I went out in the hot tub and I meditated. I meditate every day. But yesterday I just kept seeing positive things. Everything's happy, blah, blah, blah. Well, when I went to the store, the first thing I did was I bought myself some roses. I don't normally do that, but I did. And it's like everywhere I went in the store, everybody was happy and happy to help me. It was because of how I started my day.
Yeah, and it was because you chose it.
Yeah.
You really were in control.
Yeah.
From the beginning, thinking maybe you were out of control.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so what I realized that Napoleon Hill did, which no one else really did this, is he really made a point, which I'm trying to do, is to let people know that this isn't Rita Johnson. This isn't me doing this. I happen to be a vehicle that it's coming through. But the universal intelligence and universal law is, it belongs to everyone. It doesn't belong to any one person. So you don't have to just read my books to be able to get this. But the whole idea is to get the point out that individually we are all in control of our own worlds. And nobody wants to tell anyone that because they don't want to give the control to anyone.
Well, I've been practicing that because I know that I've been open with you and Sandy about my beliefs, and not really beliefs, but the things that I've been learning. It's not really a belief. But I knew it was time for me to step out and start to speak my truth with everyone. And no, they don't want to hear it. I had one lady, she almost every day she does some kind of Bible quote. Day, she was basically calling out one of her, I don't know, I'm not going to mention the religions, but she was basically saying, hey, you over there that believes this. And then she made a quote like she was trying to make an impression. This is really the truth. And I said, my belief was that the power of Jesus is within us. Therefore, we are the fingers of God. We are the ones who are the Redeemer. And all of her friends took a lot of offense to that. And they said, oh, that's a terrible thing to say, blah, 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 blah. Well, I hadn't been on Facebook. I waited till the next day. And it was just, I've purposely been staying off of Facebook very much. Anyway, when I went back, she was defending me and saying, well, Kim's an artist. First of all, she's out there because she's an artist. And if she wants to defend herself, then she can. And all I said, I was not upset because I knew, I've learned, it's like if you speak the truth and if people don't understand it, that's not my problem and that's not my fault, and therefore it doesn't hurt me. Yes, I wish that people would hear me because I think that their life would be better, but I can't control that. So all I said is, Judy, God is within all of us. And the first lady that had jumped on the bandwagon and was saying, oh, this is terrible, she liked my comment. So boom, it was over. And then another friend of mine, he was posting some picture from Fox News, and I knew it was just straight up propaganda. And he's a friend of mine. This is propaganda. This is psychological warfare. I could explain to you all the reasons why. It was just one picture, and I knew it. I said, but please, at this time, don't pay attention to this stuff. Well, and he liked it. He didn't respond, but he liked it. And the next day I saw that he started painting again because he had stopped painting. So what I'm telling you is there's been a concerted effort, in a major, major way, to put people in a negative place so that they don't figure out these things that we're talking about. So I'm glad that you called me this morning.
A fun encounter.
So anyway, what I'm saying is, I'm saying the truth, And I don't run around. I know if you hit people over the head or you say, "Oh, I'm the saint and I know everything," well, they're not going to listen to you. But when they make a comment, and then if you respond and it's the truth, and you're always respectful about it, and you don't fight, then that's being like Jesus, and that's how you get your point across.
Is that there's something that happens when you have a lot of people that are on your side or that can connect with you. So it's important to compliment other people, but it can't be a phony compliment. You know, like some people will go in, they go, "Oh, hey, I like your whatever," and they really don't like it. They're just saying it to make conversation. There's always something you can say to people that will get them in agreement with you, because when people get in agreement with you, that's the perfect time to mirror them, okay, because that's what Tony Robbins talks about. And then once you get in alignment with them, then you can start walking with them, and whatever you start saying, they start listening to.
Well, I've always been very nice to people, and I think that's why they don't attack me outright. And you know, even that girl that I made a response on her page, she didn't attack me. It was her friends. And then but also when you get someone's ire up, they do pay attention. So because of the way that I handled it, and I didn't attack back, and I didn't do it on purpose, but I'm sure it was divine timing. I let, she made this huge long paragraph like, this is why, let Kim speak for herself. And she was saying what her, whatever. Everybody got all up in arms. And all I said was one line. I got their attention. They heard me.
That they needed to hear, and you didn't do it in a negative way.
Correct. So they weren't paying attention. They weren't, it didn't become about my behavior. It became, they were all like, yelling, saying, "You're wrong," and waiting for a fight. The fight never came. And all I did was say one line. I didn't try to defend myself. I just said the truth. And I said it as simply and with the least amount of words possible. And that is how I have been getting my truth through.
It's always the truth, no matter how much someone tries to distort it.
Yeah, I mean, what are you going to say? How are you going to say, no, God is not within you? You can't. You can't. So anyway, but that's how, Mom, that's how I've been, so no, I'm not running around trying to tell everyone, but if they open the door and I have an opportunity like that, I'm taking them where in the past I might not have.
Obligation, when somebody is reaching, it's almost like when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. At times we're students. Like today, sometimes you're the student, sometimes you're like with Steve Jobs. I'm the student. I keep trying to learn from him, even though he's not physically here. But I can understand the mental realm enough that it's like I picture him here, even though he's not here.
Because he is.
Yeah, he is.
So many people are attached to him. He is here. But and the whole world is our entire day. And I told Sandy this. I don't leave this house very often, but I can tell you any information that I need to know about. It's funny how I find out about it.
Yeah.
And a lot of days I don't even turn the computer on very much except to edit my videos. But I always, if you have your eyes open and you just get your head around the fact that there is so much more going on around you, you start seeing more.
Well, you're aware.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
You're
awake and aware. Yeah.
And all is one and one is all. You already are connected to all that information, even though it's not at the conscious level. It's at the subconscious level.
Right.
And so if you consciously become aware of that, then it's like Steve Jobs. He already knew that whatever he could possibly desire, it's possible. And so when he demanded to get something done, he just was relentless. And so people saw him as a tyrant and demanding and all this stuff, and it wasn't that at all. He knew that he was only here because there's a season for all things and a time for all things. He knew that his time was limited, and he knew that he had to get this stuff done.
Well, it's interesting to hear about him because I have not followed him. I've got 2 more sets of videos I got to edit before this. You haven't seen you should see my YouTube channel, Mom. Mom, have you listened to any of my YouTube channel? Oh my goodness. I'm going to send you a link right now. I'm sending it to, hold on, let me go to, let's see, YouTube. I'm going to go to my channel.